Welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to share today's topic with you all. We're going to take this fascinating journey deep into India's forgotten underground architecture. We'll be exploring structures that are as brilliant in their engineering as they are stunning in their beauty, giving us a literal masterclass in how past civilizations solved massive environmental challenges.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever wondered what kind of medieval secret might be hiding just minutes away from New Delhi's bustling commercial hub, Connaught Place? I mean, picture this. You're walking among modern skyscrapers, right? Surrounded by the total chaos and overwhelming noise of a 21st century metropolis. And then, completely hidden in plain sight, you stumble upon this massive portal into the ancient world.
The contrast is absolutely staggering. Up on the surface level, you've got the intense heat, the blinding bright light, and that incessant non-stop din of high-rise city life. But then, as you step down into the structure, the environment entirely flips. You're suddenly hit with this cool air, murky dark, a hushed silence, and walls of russet bricks descending deep into the earth. It's this shocking sensory shift that physically separates you from the modern world up above.
So what are we actually looking at? Well, locally, these structures are known as bali, baori, or vav. Basically, they're medieval Indian stepwells. And when I say well, I don't mean a small hole in the ground. We're talking enormous, intricately carved wells dug incredibly deep into the earth, designed specifically to reach those elusive underground water tables in arid regions. They aren't just your standard watering hole. They were a literal lifeline built straight into the bedrock to guarantee year-round survival.
Section 1. Ingenious Ancient Engineering, Digging Deep for Survival.
30 meters. Let that sink in for a second. That is the astonishing depth of Agrasen Ki Baoli in present-day Delhi. The sheer engineering brilliance of medieval India's solution to their perennial water shortages is just genuinely awe-inspiring. To reach the water table here, you couldn't just toss a bucket down a narrow shaft. No, you had to physically descend 104 steps into the earth. Can you imagine the staggering physical human effort it took to excavate that deep, carefully carving out a permanent structural staircase just to reach reliable water?
To really wrap your head around what it feels like to make that 30-meter descent, let's look at a quote from art historian and archaeologist Victoria Lotman. Recalling her first time walking down, she notes, "The contrasts were so pronounced. The deeper I went, the more everything transformed." And it truly is an almost magical atmospheric change. You aren't just walking downstairs. It's like you're being swallowed by the earth into a perfectly climate-controlled sanctuary.
Now, these marvels didn't just pop up overnight. The oldest believed day for a stepwell in India is right around 600 CE. Fast forward to the 10th century, and we start seeing a massive construction boom across arid public areas and important trade routes. Then, by the 11th century, they really hit monumental proportions. We're talking grand structures like Rani Ki Vav, which was actually built by Queen Udayamati as a gift to her people. Finally, right up into the 14th century, incredible sites like Agrasen Ki Baoli were being built. So, over the centuries, they really evolved from simple water sources into these massive architectural wonders.
And honestly, they really were architectural masterpieces. D.V. Gupta, a leading conservation architect, puts it perfectly. He describes them as magnificent in their conception, their architecture, and ornamentation, no less so than the temples and palaces of their times. That's absolutely crucial to remember. These weren't just utilitarian holes in the dirt. They were breathtaking works of civic art, complete with graceful arches, handsome pillars, and just incredibly ornate carvings.
Section 2. Social Hubs and Spies. The Hidden Life of the Well.
So the crucial point is, how did these stepwells actually function day to day? Yes, of course they were a vital year-round water reservoir, but because they were wide open to the entire community, they also became a major social hub for weary travelers who needed a break from the punishing heat. They were a daily gathering place for local women fetching water, and, super fascinatingly, they occasionally functioned as a covert royal intelligence network.
I know, spies at a well. Because the stepwells was essentially the ultimate multi-purpose community center, it naturally became an ancient whisper network. When women from all over the area congregated at the well, they'd naturally exchange local gossip about their lives, their neighborhoods, the whole shebang. But what they totally didn't know was that they were unknowingly feeding crucial intelligence directly to the king's hidden informers. It was literally a highly effective, completely covert intelligence operation happening right there, just casually by the water's edge.
Section 3. Love, Valor, and Tragedy. The Story of Adalaj Nivav.
Let's move on and see how this builds because any place with that much social gravity and community importance is absolutely bound to hold powerful stories. And we can uncover a tragic, thrilling history literally baked into the stones of Rani Rudabai's tale. Back in 1499, the Muslim ruler Muhammad Begda conquered the kingdom and killed the Hindu king Rana Veer Singh. Begda then demanded marriage to the fallen king's beautiful widow, Rani Rudabai. But the queen had a strict condition. She demanded that Begda finish the stepwell her husband had started before she would ever even consider marrying him. Well, Begda agreed, and the well was finally completed in this stunning amalgamation of Hindu-Islamic architectural styles reaching 5 full levels deep. But here's the heartbreaking twist. The queen proudly inspected the glorious masterpiece, ensured her husband's legacy was secure, and then tragically drowned herself in its very waters. It is just a staggering story of ultimate defiance and sorrow.
Section 4. The Fall of Stepwells, From Marvels to Rubbish Dumps.
Stories like Rani Rudabai's echo faintly through the centuries, but unfortunately, the physical structures themselves began to suffer a much different fate. 3,000. Just think about that number. Just 100 years ago, there were an estimated 3,000 of these fascinating reservoirs scattered all across the water-scarce regions of India. The massive scale of architectural and cultural loss that happened over just a single century is honestly pretty jarring to comprehend.
So why exactly did these lifelines vanish? Well, first, underground water tables began diminishing rapidly due to immense population growth. Then came the introduction of modern convenience. Private taps and water tanks meant people simply didn't need to walk to the well anymore. But crucially, and this was a real death knell, during the colonial era, British rulers deemed the stepwells unhygienic, basically viewing them merely as disease-breeding grounds. This led to their systematic destruction. British authorities literally started filling them with mud and sealing them off from the public forever. As a result of this systematic neglect, today, many of the remaining ancient stepwells are dilapidated and entirely forgotten by the very communities that once relied on them to survive. This quote from Bharat Bhai, a modern local tea seller, perfectly captures this disconnect. Looking at the ruins, he says, yes, many tourists come here these days, but the vav is all tuda-puda, which means broken, so I can't really understand it. It really shows how entire communities have completely lost their connection to and understanding of this incredibly vital part of their history.
Section 5. A modern-day solution? Back to the future.
But our explainer doesn't have to end in the ruins. This raises a super compelling question. Could medieval engineering actually solve India's 21st century drought crisis? Over the past few decades, India has regularly faced the severe specter of drought. Well, it turns out, these ancient engineering marvels might have a direct, life-saving application to the modern climate issues we are facing today.
And this brilliantly illustrates our point, courtesy once again of conservation architect Divya Gupta. He notes that stepwells could still be relevant in storing water, which is becoming very scarce, and also in improving groundwater table. So restoring the original intended purpose of these stepwells isn't just some fun exercise in historical preservation for tourists. No, it could actually be a highly practical strategy for modern communities facing critical water scarcity right now.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful question to think about. As we face a future of increasingly severe droughts globally, do these forgotten underground marvels hold the blueprint for human survival? It is absolutely incredible to think that the ingenious answers we desperately need for tomorrow might just be buried deep within the architectural masterpieces of our past. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope this deep dive has left you with a profound appreciation for the enduring genius of human engineering. Keep learning, stay focused, and always remember to look beneath the surface.